Well, a very good afternoon to you. Wherever you may be, I hope I find you well this afternoon. Hope you're having a good weekend. Welcome back to Earguard Wrexham. Now, what I intend to do with this one, I'm going to touch around what's going on in the tour and everything else. I've got footage to see, so I can't really have much to say about something I haven't seen. So I'll do all of that and other bits and pieces Monday for Tuesday. But today, I'm just going to hit you with another episode of Wrexham AFC and me. So, where did we finish off? We're now at season 1977-1978. Where does it begin? John Neal, the manager, has left us to return to Middlesbrough to become their manager. He comes back to the racecourse to take Billy Ashcroft with him. The club decide to promote from within, and Alvin Griffiths is made player manager and makes three of the most, possibly the shrewdest signings ever pre-takeover. He brings in Welsh international Guy Davis for £10,000. Winger strong midfield man Les Cartwright for 30 or 35,000, don't remember which. And Billy Ashcroft's direct replacement, Dixon McNeil, comes in from Hereford for £60,000. Is this the best £60,000 the club ever spent? Most likely. Anyway, 77-78 was an unbelievable season. They certainly took off somewhat higher than they left off the season previous. Went on fire, set off on fire. In fact, they only lost one game at home all season. It was to Chester, so it doesn't really count. Because that club doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't matter. Anyway, we scored 48 goals at home. Phenomenal figures. And then finished with a 30-something goal difference. Brilliant figures. Anyway, promotion was nailed on the last two home games of the season at the racecourse, obviously. But a game to last long in the memory was the penultimate game. Wrexham versus Rotherham United. A game that we won 7-1. Yep, 7-1. Now, there were a couple of other clubs who were in and around. If we won, that took everybody else out. All we had to do was win. So look after your own business, lads. That was the message. Game starts off a little bit cagey, first 5 minutes or so. The 12 minutes, Mickey Thomas on the left-hand side of the area. Nice cheeky little finish. Straight into a somersault. 1-0. Off we go. Dream start. Now, you'd think, time to be a little bit cagey. Oh no, not this team. They ran out again. 15 minutes. Barely 3 minutes later, John Lyons, 2-0. Buckley's finest, God rest his soul. I think, yeah, okay, this is on. This really is on. This half, the free-flowing, one-touch football was just a joy to see. Bearing in mind the racecourse pitch wasn't in the best condition this year. It was really pretty poor. To play the football they did on it was fantastic, really. The third goal was a Graham Whittle penalty. Les Cartwright broke into the area from the left. It was fouled. The referee didn't hesitate, pointed straight to the spot. Now, I used to stand on the sidelines there thinking, I'd hate to be a goalkeeper facing a Graham Whittle penalty, because that lad could hit a ball. He really, really could. And dispatched with aplomb, 3-0. Okay, we're now in, we've got 1 foot in now, we're now virtually in dreamland. Was this side going to let up? No, it wasn't. Bobby Shinton breaking into the area from the right hand side. Beats a couple of players. I don't know how he finished it because he's sort of falling backwards but still manages to get a toe to it. Goes across the keeper into the far corner. 4-0. We are now in dreamland. Oh, it can't get any better than this. But don't forget, this is the side that wouldn't let anybody off the hook. So, Les Cartwright breaks down the left, sticks in a cross. Who's at the front post? Graham Whittle with his head. Never scored many headers, Graham. And in fact, if I remember rightly, he even pointed at his head looking at the cop celebrating. As if to say, I can't head a ball, really. So, we're away. Job is done. 5-0 up, half time. Those who were sat stood. And those who stood made loads of noise. The ovation those lads got at half time was phenomenal. Something I'll never forget. But of course, the danger is complacency. So that was obviously the message at half time. Keep it solid, keep it tight. We're only halfway through. We've got to get through this. And to be fair, the second half began. It was, a lot of keep ball, keep possession. But in saying that, Rotherham, to be fair, they didn't let it go. In fact, they played better in the second half than they did in the first. And they scored first in the second half. 73 minutes, popped up and scored. Okay, that's still fine. There's still 4 goals to the good here. Not a problem. It really isn't. Was this side going to take that? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. We're now attacking the tack end. So Graham Whittle breaks into the box, upended by the centre half, penalty kick. He goes the other side of the keeper this time in typical Whittle fashion, just blasts it, and there we go. The 5-0 cushion's restored. By now, the party's begun. But we still couldn't be 100% today. But the party was on. And I think the party was going on that much. Very few people actually remember Les Cartwright scoring the 7th. He'd swapped sides, broke in down the left, solo goal, about 35, 40 yards out, beat a couple of players, drew the keeper, finished bottom corner, 7-1. That was it. All we needed was a point to win the championship. So, last home game of the season, Peterborough United turn up at the racecourse. Now they've got a vested interest. If they win, they come up also. But just to add a little bit of something different to it, there's a whole load of Preston fans who are all supporting us. Because if we got the draw, Preston came up, Peterborough didn't. That's how it all panned out. Just shy of 24,000 on the racecourse to see Wrexham head into the second division for the first time in their history. Brilliant. Never forget it. Now, I'm going to go forward here. Bear with, because I'm going to go forward to come back. When we were in the National League, I was talking to Mark Griffiths at the home game. I'm just talking games and everything else. He said, what do you think, in your opinion, is the best goal you've seen? I really only had one choice. I've seen some fantastic goals in the 51 years I was at the club, don't get me wrong, and since. 2 great goals in the cup game, Mickey Thomas free kick, Steve Watkins finish, more of which obviously later on. Thunderbolts from Jay Harris, Luke Young, Luke Summerfield, most recently. And then, of course, in I called it the Dennis the Menace strip, Dom Vos dribbling, beating everybody from just outside the 5-mile limit to finish. It came close, I must admit. And then he had Graham Whittle strike from 30 odd yards. But we played Colchester in the November. And in that game, there was a goal of sublime quality, simplicity, and it just perfectly summed up the way that side at that time played. Centre half may even been Steve Dowman, or maybe his partner. I'll have to check on it. But anyway, they cleared it out pretty unconvincingly. And the ball is picked up in the centre circle by Wrexham centre half and captain Gareth Davis. Nice simple little forward diagonal pass to Mickey Thomas, wide on the right hand side. Halfway between touchline and centre line. Mickey takes a touch and puts a high crossfield ball over to the bombing on Les Cartwright that he's seen. So Les is away down the left as he always was, and this Mickey puts quite a height crossfield ball towards Les. Now you'd have thought the height it's coming net out, he'd take a touch, kill it, and take it on. No, Les just put a foot round it, put it straight towards the back post, tech end, and there's Bobby Shenton to head it home. When you break it down, it's simple, but the quality was just summed up the way that side played football. Joy to watch, and a goal I'll never forget. It was absolutely best goal, I think, for me. Don Vos one came close, and some of the long ranges from the previously mentioned players, yeah, they're all great goals. But for me, at that time, that's my favourite Wrexham goal. Bill Shankly, a former Liverpool manager and total Liverpool legend, described the 77-78 Wrexham side as the best side outside the First Division. And coming from him, doesn't get any better. So there we are. Season ends, promoted into 78-79 season in the second division, second tier of English football. First time ever. And it's a change of roles for me. I'm not running the line anymore. Got too old for it. And I've started a mobile disco with a mate of mine. So we decided to do a similar thing at the club. Play the tunes, yeah, current and whatever, but also do the birthday requests and the shout outs and everything else. So yeah, that was where all that began in 78-79, care of yours truly. Still goes on today. Somewhat more today, but there we go. And the big thing for me in 78-79 was some of the sides we were playing. West Ham, Sunderland, Leicester, all coming to the racecourse to play Wrexham. It's big clubs. But, and it's a big but, we struggled. We did struggle with a step up. It was massive. In saying that, we did have some cracking results. The first away win, or the first away game in the second division, we actually won down at Craven Cottage, Fulham. Hard fought, but we won. First away game in the second division, we got 2 points from it. 2 points for the win then. And then went pretty much peak tongue after that. Didn't go very well. We really did struggle, but we did record some good wins. We beat Sheffield United, the old enemy, of course, 4-0 at home, and we had a good 3-0 away win on the Potteries at Stoke. So, you know, we did have some positives out of it, but it was a very, very hard season. The departure of Mickey Thomas in the November to Manchester United for the then club record sale of £300,000 didn't really help us. Even the return of club legend, still is, Joey Jones, came back for, was the record signing for years and years and years of £210,000. Even that didn't really help us. We could do no more than struggle to finish at 15th that season. When Thomas, what am I calling him Thomas, when Mickey left, his boots were filled by ex-Cardiff City player, and a bit of a Thomas looky-like really, Davy Giles. Good player for us, Dave. And they also brought in the mercurial Steve Fox. Now, Steve Fox was hell of a player, hell of a talent. On his day, he was unplayable. But like many players, flair players at that time and since, on his day could be here and 1,000 miles away. Those days were sometimes so far apart. But he was still a phenomenal talent. Sadly taken away from us far too soon. May his soul rest in peace. But he was a fantastic player for us, and still sorely missed. So, could our foray into the European Cup Winners' Cup help lighten the mood, shall we say? No, it didn't. We were drawn against NK Rijeka in what was then known as Yugoslavia. Means river, just putting it out there. Losing the 3-0 in the away leg. He really gave it to us. So, but we did redeem ourselves a little with a 2-0 home win. Goals from Dixie and Les Cartwright, obviously leaving us just short. But then came the big one, the second big bombshell. Bobby Shinton left and joined Manchester City for the same fee as Mickey Thomas. So the question from me and a lot of people at the time, was this great team starting to fall apart? On to the next season. 79-80. So off we go again in the second division. We actually started off quite well this year. 2 wins and a loss, not a bad start. We've got a new striker in Mick Vinter. He's starting to settle in well, scoring 2 in 2. We're away. But this initial burst didn't really count for much. The efforts in the league didn't come to anything much more after that. We had an awful month in the April, recording only 1 win, 1 draw and 5 losses. We finished 16th, which is obviously a place lower than we did last year. We did have some positives though. Good wins against Watford at home, 3-0. We went down to Craven Cottage and won again, 2-0. The Watford goals care of 2 from Dixie and 1 from Giles, and 2 goals at Fulham from, obviously Foxy had a good day, Steve Fox, and Joey. Now there's a name here I want you to stick into the memory bank. In the Fulham side that day, Gordon Davis. Remember that one? You'll need it later. So, again, could the Cup Winners' Cup give us a boost? The first game saw us draw against Magdeburg. East German. We won the first leg 3-2 at home. Happy days. Goals from Dixie, Steve Fox and Steve Buxton. So off we go to East Germany, behind the Iron Curtain, I think they call it then. What happened? We lost 3-2. Goals from Mick Vinter and Alan Hill, obviously forcing the game into extra time. But unfortunately, Magdeburg scored twice in the second half of extra time, seeing them through. Now, for me, those European nights were so special. We had a few more after this one. And it was just a shame, I've discussed it with many people, said it in a few interviews, the whole generation that didn't get the pleasure of seeing those games, and others as well. And it's just a crying shame. Well, we're getting there. Just get the European games back, we'll be okay. So that's how that season ended. Now I'm going to take a break from the league at this point. I'm going to touch on the first of the domestic cup competition, starting with the Welsh Cup. Now, I did say a couple of videos back there was a bit of politics in that one, so this is where it all comes in. The Welsh Cup was a competition started in 1877-78 season. Obviously, the Welsh FA founded in Wrexham. So, this competition was for those clubs in Wales at all levels and the marches. Now, to explain what the marches are, it's the area where England and Wales borders meet. So there were quite a lot of English teams, quite close to the Marches, if you like, were invited to bulk up the numbers and the quality in the Welsh Cup. Hereford was one, as an example. The old Oswestry town was another. And there were many. So, who wins the inaugural competition? Wrexham do. But there's a sting in the tail here, there's a but. They didn't get the trophy and the medals for winning it. The FA didn't have the funds to buy the trophy and the medals. Anyway, they did receive it in the next calendar year, and there was a presentation event and a game, and they all got what they duly deserved. Now, the history in the Welsh Cup, Wrexham are the record winners. They've won it 23 times, being runners-up 22 times. And the last final that Wrexham won was in 1994-95 season, when we went down to Cardiff and registered a 2-1 win over Cardiff City. Now then, this is the political bit now. In 1995, changes were made into how clubs got into Europe from the domestic club competitions, which meant that Welsh clubs playing in the English League, as Wrexham, Newport, Cardiff and Swansea do, couldn't progress into Europe via winning the Welsh Cup. So Wrexham withdrew, along with Cardiff, Newport, Swansea. There was an attempt to try and find a way of getting the 4 clubs back into Europe via a Welsh domestic, like a Super Cup type competition. Started off quite well, but it never got off the ground, unfortunately. So therefore, the 4 EFL clubs withdrew from the Welsh Cup. Now then, I've got to check on this one because I'm not 100% certain, but I'm sure somebody said to me once that if Wrexham were to win the English FA Cup, they couldn't qualify for Europe either. Again, I've got to check on this one because all our admin is done via the Welsh FA, even though we play in the English League. It's all very complicated. For instance, if we wanted to buy a player from an English club to come to Wrexham, he would need international clearance from the Welsh FA, and vice versa, of course. All our disciplinary stuff, all the lads' cards, red cards, yellow cards, appeals, everything else, the Welsh FA deal with. So, for some reason, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, I need to check, and I'll back this up on Monday, Tuesday when I do the next one. I'm not 100% certain, but I don't think the Welsh clubs can qualify for Europe via the FA Cup. But I'm going to ratify that. So I will get me. It's just come into me while I was just doing my facts and figures now. So yeah, I'm going to check on that one. So that's where this one's going to end. Have a fantastic weekend wherever you are. Enjoy your time with your friends and your families. I'm going to do some swatting on the FA Cup history and the FA Cup politics. Watch some footage, and I'll put another one on Monday for Tuesday. In the meantime, have a good weekend. See you later.